Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Jeff Epps with the Great STEM Show. And I'm here today. I'm on location at the Game Time Barbershop here in Rayford, North Carolina. The address here is 105 Great Lane, Rayford, North Carolina. And Mr. Brian Gaines, or G the Barber as he is known, is very committed to ensuring that the students, at least here in Hope County, but I'm pretty sure students everywhere, are able to stay engaged during this worldwide crisis that we're going through right now. So we're going to be live streaming today, helping parents understand how to teach the number line to your students. So here's the thing. What we want to do is we're going to show you how easy it is to teach your child the number line, because we found out that when students are not performing well in math, whether it's kindergarten or all the way up into college, I've spoken with educators at all levels and they all agree that when students are not performing well in math, it's generally because they do not have a firm understanding of the number line, decimal placement, fractions, and in many cases, multiplication. So this is going to be a multi-part series that we will be doing, but today we're going to focus on the number line. So the learning objective today is we're going to show you how to teach your child the number line and then give them sample problems to solve maybe during the week. Okay, and as an added bonus, I'm going to show you how can you implement or integrate computer programming into this lesson, because I truly believe, regardless of their age level, computer science and coding can be implemented all the way back into elementary school. We should not be waiting until our students get into high school or even middle school, for that matter, to introduce them to coding. All right, so enough said, let's get started. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a very simple tool that you can find in the Google suite called Google Slides, and it's a presentation tool. And many of our school districts utilize Google products, Google Classroom, Gmail, and so on, and Google Docs, and all of these products. So if your student's district uses these products, it'll be very easy for you to implement them into your home for student learning. And then I'll also show you where you can download this lesson directly from my website, okay? So with that being said, let's get started. Oh, and by the way, this is an interactive session. Feel free to send me a comment via the chat feature here as well. I'll be glad to answer your questions. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let's kill the video feed. Okay, and I'm going to now bring up our Google slide. So what you're looking at right now is a Google slide that I've created. It's called the MySwell Math Workspace, and I'm just sort of using the presentation tool, the presentation tool as a way to create a workbook for students to solve math problems. So it's really simple to use. So what you'll be looking at here is a basic number line. So now if you're at home with your child, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and have them draw a line on a blank sheet of paper. Okay, let's do that now, and let me make sure that everything that I have is fitting in my window here. Okay, so that everybody can see. Okay. Get that set up properly. There we go. All right, so what we're looking at now is the number line, right? So have your child draw a line across the screen. And on that line, we want to put 21 tick marks. Okay? 21 tick marks, and there's a reason for that, and spread them out. So you can look at the diagram that I have up here, and in the very center, we want to label it with the number 0. Because this is what I truly believe. In order for students to truly understand mathematics or anything in the classroom, we have to make sure that we're incorporating creation versus consumption. Okay, consumption is where they're just sitting there and they're consuming while the teacher is instructing, whereas creation is they're actually creating something. And when students create, okay, when students create, they have no alternative but to understand what they're learning. All right, so now that we have what we need here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're now going to begin to label our number line. So make sure your child has drawn the number line and they've put down the 21 ticks and they've spread them out. They've spread them out a little bit, okay? All right, so the next step is we're going to label the number line, and we start in the middle with 0, okay? Because we have to understand that on a number line, the center of the number line is 0. And then over on the left-hand side of the 0, we want our students to understand that this is where the negative numbers are going to go, okay? And then on the right side of the number line is where the positive numbers are going to go. Okay, it's very important, and you'd be surprised the number of students that just simply don't know how to draw a number line. And if you don't know how to draw a number line, then you can't necessarily. Okay, you can send your questions if you go to the YouTube stream and you click on it. You should be able to send your questions in through the chat window. Okay. Or give me 1 second here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're now going to go ahead and label the number line. So we've got negative numbers to the left. Make sure that your child labels that here, up here as I have it. Negative numbers on the left, positive numbers on the right. So let's start with the positive numbers. So with this digital tool, I'm simply going to duplicate the numbers that I have. Now keep in mind, I have a tutorial on my website that explains all of this, but for your child, they can be doing this with pencil and paper. All right, so now I'm going to duplicate the 0 and I'm going to position it in the ones position. So now to the right of my number line, I'm putting my positive numbers. So I will do the same again with the 1, and I'm going to hold down Control D to duplicate, and I'm using the arrow keys to simply line up my numbers. So here I have 2. And of course, we're going to continue this process. It's very important that students know how to create a number line, because a number line has practical applications in a variety, okay, of careers and operations outside of math, okay? So I'm going to continue labeling my number line. So this is 4. And this is 5. So we're accomplishing two things here. We're teaching students to actually use create a digital slide, which is a job skill, but we are also teaching them math. Okay, 7. Now, parents, those of you that are listening, I would recommend after today that throughout the rest of the week, you present your child with a blank sheet of paper and ask them to draw a number line. This should be something they should get used to doing and be able to do with no problem at all. So practice, practice, practice. Okay, and we have 9, and we are going to end with 10. So we have just completed our labeling of the number line on the positive side. And I'm going to stretch this out just a little bit. There we go. So I've just finished labeling the positive side of the number line. And we want students to understand the difference between positive and negative numbers. Positive on the right, negative on the left. So now that we've created the positive side of the number line, now let's create the negative side of the number line. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to duplicate my 0. Okay. And I'm going to change it to -1 because now we're creating negative numbers on the left-hand side. Okay, so next I'll duplicate again, and this time I'm going to switch my -1 to a -2. And I truly believe students will have a lot of fun doing this from a digital perspective because, well, they're digital babies. So we're now going to switch our -2 to -3. And we'll duplicate, and we'll continue this process until we've completely labeled the number line. I just hope that G the barber's not trying to get this math lesson and he's paying attention to the young man's head he's cutting, because I would sure hate for that young man to walk out of here with a number line in his head. I don't know. G may be thinking back to his elementary school days, and he may not be focused. So let's just hope that doesn't happen. All right, so we're now labeling -5, and we're now going to do -6. And for my educators that are watching, this is a great way to teach 2 skills simultaneously. Students are learning presentation skills, how to create a digital presentation, but they're also learning math. So there's that integration that you're looking for across the curriculum. All right, we have -7. We have now -8. -9. And finally, last but not least, -10. Now, I want to point out something else for my educators and parents. You know, we have students in our classrooms who are very visual in their learning. And that's why I chose this particular method, because it makes it very visual for them. You will generally find this with a lot of your students who are athletes, okay? Because athletes are very visual learners. And this is a great way to make the learning tangible for them as well as visual. And finally, we have -10. I'm going to move this -9 over just a little bit. There we go. All right. All right. So we have now labeled our number line, okay? And we can now begin to solve math problems with this number line. So I'm going to pause for a minute or so and give everyone a chance to catch up. So parents, what you're looking for is that your student or your child has actually labeled this number line. It actually mimics what they see on the screen here, and we'll move on to the next session. But I would recommend that you do this at least once or twice a day while they're out of school, to make sure that they understand it. And another thing that's very important to remember, parents, in our schools, students have blocks of instruction, and those blocks of instruction can be anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. So you want to make sure that the time they spend on their work in the home sort of mimics that time, because you don't want to burn them out, but you also want to make sure that they're engaged for a certain amount of time. So something to keep in mind there. If I'm not mistaken, in our K-5 schools, the block of instruction is anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. But I know that in middle and high schools, especially if they're using a block schedule, they're going an hour and a half. Okay, so something to keep in mind there. All right, so now that we have created the number line, okay, we are now ready to start solving math problems. So now I'm going to move to a different slide, because we have now created the number line, which I think is important. So now we can begin to solve math problems. All right, so if we look down here at the bottom, I've got some examples. Okay, 5 plus -3 equals 2. -5 plus 3 equals -2. 2 plus 5 plus -3 equals 4. Okay, let me bring this up a little bit, because I can see in my display here that some of you may not be able to see it. So let me just bring it up a little bit. There we go. All right, so now that we have created the number line, let's do some math. Let's solve some math problems. So down at the bottom, I have a few math problems to solve, and we have a number line up front, up top. Now, I've also included this little triangle shape to act as my marker, okay, so that I can move back and forth up and down my number line, because that's important. Okay, so I'm going to use my arrow keys to move the little marker back and forth. See how I'm doing that? I'm just using my arrow keys, and I'm moving up and down the number line, which is a really good thing to do. Okay, because it allows the students to actually track what they're doing. Okay, allows them to track what they're doing. Okay, so all right, so let's start with the first problem. The first problem is 5 plus -3. Okay, 5 plus -3. So what you want to do is you want to coach your child to start out with the first number on the number with the first number in the problem. In this case, it's 5. So 5 is the same as, or +5, so to speak, right? So we're going to start with 5. So we move my little triangle, my little tracker here, over to 5. Now it says plus -3. So we know that our negative numbers on the left side of the number line. Okay, so if we're going to add a negative number, we have to move to the left. And we're going to move to the left 3 spaces. And that's what we want to coach our students to understand, that when we see plus -3, we're talking about moving 3 spaces to the left side of the number line, because that's where our negative numbers reside. So let's go ahead and start and click the little triangle here. And we're starting out at 5, and then we're going to move 3 spaces to the left. 1, 2, 3. And look, we land on 2. Parents, I can't stress this enough. It's one thing for students to see the answer, okay? But what we want to do is make sure that they understand why that is the answer, okay? So let's try that again. We start out at 5, and because we are adding -3, and 3 is a negative number, we're going to move to the left 3 places. 1, 2, 3. And now we have our answer, okay? So let's take a look at the next problem, which is solve -5 plus 3. So that means we're going to start at -5. And this time we're adding 3. 3 is a positive number. So now we're going to move to the right side of our number line. And let's do that. 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. And we see that our answer is -2. Okay, so I would recommend that you could definitely find a lot of sample lessons or sample problems to solve if you Google adding positive and negative numbers. So you could find a slew of those, and I would make sure that you have your students practice these problems and solving these problems for maybe that 45-minute block, or even that hour-and-a-half block if necessary. And then after they get comfortable with adding 2 positive and negative numbers, then you challenge them with 3, adding 3-digit positive and negative numbers. So with the third problem we have here, we have 2 plus 5 plus -3. Okay, so we're going to start out with 2. Okay, and we're going to add 5. 5 is a positive number, so we're going to move to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we land on 7. Okay, well now we're going to add -3. Okay, 3 is a negative number, so now we must move to the left. 1, 2, 3, and we get our answer of 4. Okay, so this is a great way to teach the number line to your child. You can find sample problems online for them to use, but the key is, and I cannot stress this enough, the key is making sure that they know how to draw the number line. That is key, because when you create something, you have no choice but to understand it. Okay, that's really how learning should be happening. All right, so now let's switch over real quick to coding. Yeah, let's have some fun with that. So there is a website that I use that's really simple for students to learn coding, and it's a text-based coding website, so students actually learn to write code. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the website address right here so that you can see it. And it will be in the video, so you can replay this video at a later time. And I also have this link on my website, which I will share with you in a little bit. But this particular website is to a Python compiler that I use that's really simple to use, and I use it all the time. So that's the website, and you can take a picture of it, or I'll also put a copy of it into the chat window. I'll do that right now. Okay, there we have it. Okay, so let's get to some coding. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch over, and this is the actual website. And it's a Python compiler or Python interpreter. Python is an actual programming language that's used a lot now in the industry. Okay, it's used for IT. It's used. I use it to actually program my drones to actually fly in unison when I'm practicing swarming. You probably saw the YouTube video yesterday. Well, it's actually Python that I use. So it's a great little program to that allows you to introduce students to coding. Now, when you get to the site, there's going to be some sample code that shows up, like the one you see here. So all you want to do is just simply highlight everything in that window and press delete so it's empty. And I definitely recommend that you have your child practice this, because when students are coding, we're doing a couple of things. We're enhancing their reading skills, but we're also enhancing their writing skills as well. So what we're going to do is sort of validate the answers that we received in the previous application, right? When we added the positive and negative numbers together, and we were able to move up and down the number line. Well, now we're going to code it to check the answer. So if we go back to our slide real quick, and we check the very first problem, which is 5 plus negative 3. Okay, so let's do that in Python. We're going to simply type the word print in lowercase. Now remember, your case does matter when you're coding in any computer programming language. If they use lowercase letters, you want to use lowercase letters as well. And then let's type in, let's go print and then space, and let's type in 5 and then the plus sign and then negative 3. Okay, so if we type that in and then we come down to this run button and click run, it gives us the answer of 2, which is the same answer we arrived to when we did it using the number line, using our number line that we created. So we've just validated that equation. All right, so let's validate the second equation. So I'm going to click on the very end of this first line and press enter to give me a new line, and type in print. And this time we're going to add negative 5 plus 3. Okay, and if we click run, we get negative 2. And last but not least, let's take a look at that final problem, which was 2 plus 5 plus negative 3. Okay, so we come to the end of line 2, press enter, type in print, space, 2 plus 5 plus negative 3. And of course, when we click run, we get our answer of 4. So not only have we integrated the number line or math into digital presentations, or digital presentations into math, we've also integrated computer science into math as well. And you know, when you talk about STEM, right, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, it's not necessarily the technology that makes it a STEM lesson, okay? Technology is only a portion of that. STEM is an application to learning across the curriculum, whether it's math, whether it's science, whether it's social studies, or reading, or any core curriculum type class, because the S, or the science in STEM, that deals with, and I'm going to switch my video back here. There we go. So the S in STEM deals with the scientific method, right? Because it's science is essentially observing or obtaining results through observation and evaluation. Okay, that's what science is, and that's what we did today. We are teaching our students to create the number line, then observe what they've created, solve a problem, and evaluate it. And if it's not the right answer, go back and evaluate again until we can obtain the correct result. And then, of course, technology, we've implemented digital presentations, but we've also implemented Python coding. So that's the T, the technology in STEM. Engineering, you know, I think this is where a lot of misconception happens. People, when they think of engineering, they think of an engineer. Well, that's not quite the same thing. I'm a network engineer by trade, but engineering is a process, okay? And I can apply the engineering process to finding out why a network is not working, why someone's phone can't connect to the internet. But engineering is a process, okay? And it's the process of building a solution to a problem. And that's what we did today with students. We showed them how to build a number line to solve mathematical problems. And then finally, mathematics. Yes, this was or is a mathematics lesson. However, there's math across the curriculum. There's math in the science classroom. There's math in social studies. There's math in PE. With regard to STEM, the application of STEM to this lesson is what makes it so powerful. The technology is nothing more than a lure. All right, finally, a couple of more things. One of the things you could do, parents, if you want to get your kids out of the house maybe and just have them stretch out a little bit, you could take some cones. Like you could go to Walmart or someplace and get you some cones, right? And label those cones like a number line and spread them out in the yard. And have your students shuffle up and down those cones. Okay, that's a pretty neat little idea that I use, especially with those kids who are athletes, because it makes it more tangible for them. So that's a great way to do that. Then you could toss them a football or a tennis ball or something if they land on the right number, and it's a good way to tire them out too. So let me quickly do this. Let me share with you the website where you can get this lesson. Let's see here. You can visit stemrelcity.com. Let me get that site up here. And on my website, you'll see a link that says STEM lessons, okay? STEM lessons. And it's across right here across the top. And when you click on this link, you will see several lessons that I've already created and posted. Here it is, understanding the number line. That's the lesson we're doing today. And I also have a link to a blank presentation that you can use. I also have third grade orders of operations in algebraic thinking, and how to represent and solve problems involving multiplication and division. There's also one on understanding base 10, which is now the foundation of the new math, they call it. I even have some middle school lessons up here as well on understanding fractions. And there's also links to this Python interpreter that I've placed up here as well. So let me switch back to my video. So look for us to continue to post and live stream more lessons like this. I will probably do fractions or maybe even decimal placement in the next section or in the next session. So I hope you've enjoyed this today. I hope it's been helpful. Let me put some contact or information up here. If you have any questions about the lessons or anything we've done today, you can reach me at jeff@stemeraldcity.com. And I can be reached at 910-363-0198. I'm also always interested in working with teachers to help you create a digital presence online. I know there's a lot of push right now to get content out to students, but I think right now that one of the easiest things that we can do and one of the best things that we could do is each teacher and each school establish that digital presence where students can log in and maybe even post comments, and you can kind of keep the discussion going with your students. So if there are teachers out there who are struggling with that, feel free to email me. Now, I will say this, okay? If you call me for help, I'll be glad to help you, but I am not going to do it for you, okay? I will walk you through it, but I will not do it for you. But I think it's important that we try to reach a sense of normalcy within our schools, and establishing that digital classroom and that digital presence is a great way to do that. I'm Jeff Epps. I hope you've enjoyed this today. I want to thank my host today, Mr. Brian Gaines, G the Barber, here at Game Time Barbershop. Once again, that address is 105 Great Lane here in Rayford, North Carolina. You were probably wondering, wow, that's a smoking haircut Jeff has. Well, I got it from Mr. Gaines here at Game Time Barbershop. All right, so I'm going to get out of here. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if there's any way we can help you, let us know. To everybody out there, stay safe. Good talking with you. Take care.